you want to quickly introduce yourself, and I'm going to set up.
Yes, exactly. So I'm Ransu from Liquidi. Liquidi means in Finnish language liquid. And I have previously I've been around quite a while because I was already then when the ICO started. So I was the CEO and co-founder of the company called Liquidi. No, sorry, Token Market. And Token Market did then technology and widgets and everything to manage quite a many, over 30 ICOs that raised over 300 million, 2016, 17, a little bit of 2018, before then that crypto winter started. So we did a lot of those, and there was like crypto.com did their ICO with us, and Storage and Civic and many others. So that's the background, is the very much on ICOs, and I'm not in prison, so that went well. That was pretty successful. And then when the crypto winter started, then I started to work on a like more of a, let's call it financial side of the opportunities on a blockchain. And one thing led to another. It took like a year and a half, 2 years to figure it out. Then I realized that, hey, one thing where blockchain is unbeatable, I would say, is the sustainable finance, or now, as you know, we talked regenerative finance, refi. So that is where, like, you know, I worked on the normal financial markets, but bond trading and stuff like that. And now what happens with the sustainable finance, and when we have to put these values, nature values, and everything to do with the climate change and everything, we have to put that on a same, let's call it now like a coin, for example. Then on blockchain, we can run two sets of data, sustainability data and the financial data. And that is pretty much impossible currently on how the financial markets work. They would go on a separate ways, those information, and then meet on some Bloomberg terminal or something. So that's in my opinion, one of the killer applications of blockchain is the sustainable finance. And now, as the previous speaker said, that carbon markets is quite a big part of that. And now we're going to do a little bit of a deep dive to that. So I don't know how many of you knows carbon credits and carbon market. Yeah, a couple. Yeah, a few people. Yeah, exactly. So if I, sorry?
More than 20 years.
Oh, nice. Okay, then more than me, way more than me. So, but simply put it, like, you know, carbon markets should be the way that then when you do everything that you can to reduce your carbon footprint, then the kind of a last mile there or last meters, whatever it is, then that is what you use a carbon credits for, to basically come to net zero situation, either as an individual or as a company. Then there's a somewhat confusing concept, is that there is two sets of these carbon markets. There's a regulated carbon market, kind of emissions trading, where all the companies that are very polluting companies, they get credits from the EU or from any governing body, and they try to that way limit their pollution, that how much they can pollute. It's 10,000 companies in Europe on this regulated market that are like, you know, tire companies, car manufacturers, airlines, shipping companies, cement manufacturers, all these very polluting companies. They cannot basically manufacture almost anything that is around us without polluting. So they need to be kind of handled with these emissions credits. And that's regulated market and totally separate of what I'm talking now today. Today I'm talking about the voluntary carbon market. And the voluntary carbon market means that the companies voluntarily decide to reduce their carbon footprint and aim for net zero. The companies like Google, and by the way, Google is like kind of similar to Ethereum in that sense, that Google is aiming now to reduce their entire history since 1996, to go back in time and figure out their carbon footprint and basically go net zero on whole their history. So they have not been bad players on a global market. So continuing on that, then since individuals, of course, these polluting companies very much so, and then every normal company needs to start to think to be more sustainable. So they need to start to think this way that will be asked by the buyers, who your clients, whatever they buy, they want to know that, oh, are you a sustainable company? Your employees and your shareholders, for example. So it's quite a group of people that will start to demand all the time more and more kind of the X-ray look into the companies, that are you acting well for the planet. So that's why then the market is going to boom. It's now, was last year 2 billion, then 2021. Last year was supposed to be 10 billion, but the war and these very high interest rates, they kind of put the companies to hold back, and that was probably between 5 to 7 billion. We don't know the exact numbers yet, but then depending on who you ask, 2030, 2035, we're going to be there somewhere between 100 to 200 billion on a market size, and that's a big market. But now the problem is that the current market sucks. The way that it works is very old-fashioned. It's like old banking from the 80s, and run, as the previous speaker said, run by a couple companies. Vera having something like 85% of the market, and that's a Washington DC based carbon registry, where all the carbon credits are registered on their cute little databases. And Vera and Gold Standard are a big part of the market. Now, opening account with some of these registries so that you can, as a corporate, you can buy carbon credits, that might take you weeks or even months. So their KYC system is very cumbersome. And of course, they only sell for the corporations. So these carbon credits that you can buy as a retail buyer often has a very high markup, and you're very limited to certain carbon credits, and you don't have the access to the whole market. That's a big deal. And that's where we can learn from the crypto markets that in 10 years have now become, at the height, it was like 3 trillion, right? And then now we are like 1 trillion. Market is actually up today, right? We're over 20,000 on the Bitcoin again. So yeah, exactly. Little way to go to 60K again. Yeah, but this is, so the market is really not meant to do what we here want, what it needed it to do. So if we don't fix it, we will never reach that 1.5 Celsius on the Paris Agreement's goal. We will not get there. So that's where we are now starting to think, okay, how does it need to work? And that's the blockchain is the only game in town. There's no others, and even World Bank has already realized that. So a little bit more about that later. So all the carbon credits needs to be tokenized, and it's not like a matter of opinion. That's, in my opinion, is a fact, because then we can get away from that problem that was mentioned earlier, that the double counting, triple counting, 10 times counting. So what companies used to do in the earlier markets was that they marked themselves that, hey, I have a carbon credits. 31st of December, I mark it like, ooh, I'm now offsetting my carbon footprint, and then next day they sell it to someone else who then marks the same thing, and that can happen many times over. They said that Chinese carbon credits that were issued before Paris Agreement 2015, they said that between 60 to 90% of those were fakes, just like funny tickets, monopoly stuff. So now we see that there's a great opportunity to build everything, and we must build everything for the carbon markets on blockchain. And we can even then add, the satellite monitoring on it, and then independent kind of decentralized expert networks who can report that the forest is there and everything is okay and the carbon credits are real. And of course the exchanges, like we learned now hard way in November, that all the exchanges needs to be decentralized, not just FTX. And that's what what we're building now here as an example of our things is that we're building now. You really can see it, right? That color. But what we're building here is that we want now to take current market participants who have carbon credits, high quality carbon credits, and who are on the market, we're gonna now go to them and give them all the blockchain tools, basically create a tokenization platform that they can tokenize for free, and then our marketplace where they can sell the assets as a primary market, and then as a secondary market exchange. So we think that also the market to become more exciting, the market needs to be more speculative. So this is kind of a green capitalism here, in a way that then there comes more players, and we definitely need to have a normal retail people there and the corporations trading, just what made crypto big. We think that that's a necessary in order to make the carbon markets more exciting and more inclusive, and of course more transparent with the blockchain technology. So these are the components that we want to bring now to everybody's that everybody can use them in order to build a new market. Then these are just our tokens example, but we're gonna make these same tokens to clients who want them. And here's another great benefit of tokenization is that the first one there, the pool token, means that when you buy one carbon credit, we can put, let's say, 10 to 20 carbon projects inside of that one token. We can fractionalize it. And that way, then you don't take a risk with the one carbon credit, that being from one project that can have a flood or, forest fire or some other, government interference or something. So that's a great way to kind of create almost like an ETF that where you invest on the whole market through these pool tokens. Then utility NFTs, we just talked about, or you mentioned the NFT market. Okay, that is a silly market. But then there will come now utility versions that can, for example, yield carbon credits. That you kind of come and you invest on. You come and invest on some project, and on that project you put $200 there, and they then over the next 2 years send you every month carbon credits, so that you are offset for next 2 years, for example. So I think that there's a big things there, kind of combining goodwill and supporting the projects together with then financial returns and financial benefits like a carbon credits. And then the forwards is a third version there, kind of not quite DAO, but kind of an investment vehicle here that you can then support the projects. You go in early, crowdfunding. You go in early, and we cannot give you right away carbon credits because they have not yet happened. So in that case, then what we do is that we give you carbon forwards, which is a kind of like buying a futures contract. That the day when the carbon it turns into the carbon credit, then yours automatically converts to that. And then LIC token is just our utility token that is now coming out this spring. That will be also a little bit different from other utility tokens in that sense that will also then have a staking contract that then when you stake LIC, you earn carbon credits, not just the LIC token, which is normally has been the case on these token sales and token rewards. Then I don't know how long it's been now. A few minutes, probably. How long are we in on time-wise?
I'm just checking. Yeah, that's all right. Yeah.
Sorry?
Yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, a few minutes.
Could you send us? We have 10 minutes here.
Oh yeah, 10 minutes. Yeah. Okay, so then on kind of a last thing here to talk about now when I do this quick overview of the market this is interesting stuff because this is just now something that we are now starting to build. So together we have invested and we are partners with an Israeli company called Alba Systems, who are solely focused on carbon markets and measuring carbon credits from the space with the satellite technology. So we're working with them to come up with a faster and easier way to measure carbon and then turn those into carbon credits that are still high quality and trustworthy. And this is now exciting times on that because World Bank is also agreeing that hey, blockchain is the future of measuring carbon credits and the whole that carbon sector. So there's now they are now building and have built already with using Chia blockchain. They are building now global database. I would call it meta registry, where every country basically reports on the highest level. Every country reports their carbon numbers, and then all the companies and there's like a layer after layer, and then that all kind of feeds into single blockchain like Chia based database, and that way we can also get on a country level. The problem that was also mentioned earlier is that now when let's say a developing country, Ghana in Africa, they have more than enough forest there that when they then sell carbon credits to Switzerland for offsetting, that is actually on the highest level between governments. That offsetting has happened so that the Ghana cannot then go and mark that for their own carbon kind of reserves. And this is it sounds boring and very political. It is very political, but it is also same time what we need now. Because if we continue kind of cheating ourselves and building a system that doesn't have any real accountability there behind, then we are in a kind of a funny market that then we find ourselves in a climate disaster in 10, 20 years, because all the time it's been kind of a fake. So this is where we also see now the decentralization and Web3 being super cool, because we can now have then everything is on a blockchain. Then there's all these measuring tools and methods. These will be more and more open source. And then importantly, something that I didn't write here yet, but then for example, mobile phone images to measuring the forest are surprisingly good. There's Finland is a big, is the size of Italy, big forest country, but we only have 5 million people instead of 60 million in Italy. So we have a lot of forest, and there's tools to kind of measure and take pictures of your forest, and the accuracy of those apps now that we've been talking with is close to 90%. That they can you take from the forest 5-10 mobile phone high quality photos, and it can measure on that preciseness the kind of forest carbon in the future. So that together with the satellite data and global standards of how to measure it is a great. This will be a great new kind of era of carbon credits. And then SDG. This means the Sustainable Development Goals by United Nations, and these are the important things. So we should not really calculate European forests and stuff, because this is an important tool of where Ghana. Then so every time you buy their from Ghana carbon credits, then you also need to support their school systems, their healthcare, their equal working opportunities and all that stuff. And you actually in the future you cannot have any more carbon credits that are solely just based on, for example, forest. They need to have these SDG values there, and that makes it that it's really like a vehicle of moving money from the Switzerland. Money moves to Ghana. Great. That's the way to kind of bring up the life quality on those countries. What is there? 50 countries in Africa alone. So I think that's a great opportunity. Red is then just a reforestation methodology that is also under UN. So UN has really done a lot of great systems there that has been brewing, kind of coming together for years, and they will still come together for years because the political angles and all this stuff that there is. Then this is not easy, and this is not for the what's called faint-hearted, because it's so hard to understand what's going on, and these rules are only half done. But it's very exciting. We find it worth, like it's going to be a huge market. Like probably 250 billion when the governments also come in over the next 8 years. And that makes it a great opportunity for doing kind of good, being a green capitalist. Any questions? Yes.
So is liquidity like sourcing and finding green projects itself, or how does that work?
That's a good question. We decided no, because it's so hard to be on a location. So we have partners in places like Ghana, Tanzania, and so forth. And you have to really you have to know, like, the government systems there. There's a couple of things that can go wrong. So we decided to be on that level, that we then, once there's a project developers, then we can jump in and kind of start to connect the dots. And also exciting thing is now that we have started to find partners for the carbon projects that are saying that, hey, if we do these methodologies and if we use all this technology, and they can come in also and say that, hey, we want this and this and this data. Like a normal carbon crate will in the future now have at least 40 data fields. It's pretty cool because you can be 10 meters by 10 meters precise on the forest with the satellites on saying that that's where the carbon was captured. So then they said that we can be so precise on this market, if it all goes now well, that it's kind of automatically financed. Because we already implement, you were talking about the startup financing and all that, but we basically implement the rules already on the project development stage. And that's where the money is guaranteed. So,
Created for them.
yeah. Yes.
So I've seen some projects putting carbon credits on Harmony One and in Cosmos and arguments for why one way or another. Are you looking to have a chain agnostic exchange, or do you have a horse in that race?
This is a problem. That they building everybody's now so excited. And first of all, there's way too many blockchains in the world. That 90%, in my opinion, can go and nobody will miss them. Yeah. Being harsh, but that's what happened on the ICO markets. There was blockchain travel company, but not needed. So this is really a problem because they are going to become silos. Now Polygon is really strong, like those that the previous president showed, those main projects like KlimaDAO and Toucan and Region. No, Region is on Cosmos. But those two others are then on Polygon. We work with Consensus because we're on their startup program. So we do on Ethereum, and now Ethereum is of course fantastic because it's the biggest and the best, and now the carbon footprint is smaller. And then World Bank decided to go with Chia. And so I think that we definitely don't have a horse on this race is the answer. We want to build it so that we bridge to everything, but it is like the agnostic. How do you do agnostic thing? I don't that's hard because it's always the exchanges. Like there's not like it's then you have to do centralized exchange because you cannot just jump between the change on like that.
Like you read and write to everything would be the goal, or do you actually mean bridge to everything? Because like bridges are the hardest problem in.
Yeah, exactly. This is beyond my take and because there's so many nuances now in this one exactly because it has to be written right. Because this was now the problem that why my Vera then stopped the whole tokenization in end of last May. So 9 months ago, was it? So the problem was exactly that they were all already retired by the time that you start to trade them. So you're basically trading retired credits, and then whoever holds it in the end and kind of burns their already retired credit is the beneficiary of the offsetting. And now they're going to come up with something called that this token is turned into mobile. So it's not anymore only on their centralized old-fashioned database, but now it's a mobile because it's on some sort of a tokenized form. And so it needs to be written right because it has to then feed back, instantly that it's being offset. really tricky stuff there. And then when we add all the data there and stuff, that it's a challenge.
Cool, thank you.
Question here?
Oh yes.
You mentioned when you launch the token and then start staking, that there will also be an opportunity for carbon credits. Can you talk about that? Where?
Yeah, exactly. So we basically have it then how our whole model will be so that when we get paid by the projects, we will get paid in cash, of course, which is nice to have, and then we're gonna get paid on a carbon credits. So we're gonna then put those back on we're gonna use those for more marketing. So we kind of see that like the nature-based currency, and we very much see that we should not just be that everybody converts everything to cash, but we should treat that more and more as a currency. And it's nice then to give people those, and they can then give their friends. I offset my family or my friends, or do more of a, it has a more than like a nice aspect on it than just being cash.
So would that incentivize, bigger companies to come and stake your token so that they can get their own carbon credits?
I think that the big companies are kind of boring on that sense, because they what they do is that they buy twice a year or something like that. What I've heard basically purchasing practices of Microsoft or something, that they buy a couple times a year or a few times a year, and they offset. They're not on any kind of a speculative. So I'm really personally focusing and excited about the SME and individual people, because I think that they will make the market when they start to be talking about hopefully one day about carbon a little bit like even 10% as excited as they talk about crypto or used to talk about the crypto, then that's a great sign. More talk, more excitement.
Ransu, thank you for the incredible presentation. I'm Slada, founder of Impetus Brands. Impetus Brands, remember? Impetus. Okay, I'm not sure how to do it in English.